Minister Eamon Ryan stated that he could no longer guarantee that there would be no blackouts this winter. In his own words, I think what he said was the energy supply is going to be a little bit tight. Now, that is an understatement. EirGrid have stated that if no action is taken, Ireland will be short 260 megawatts of electricity in 2022 and 2023. Why has this happened? The government have pandered, and in other words, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil, to the Green Party, closing peat power stations such as Loughree. Bord Gáis customers face a 12% rise in gas and 10% increase in electricity prices. I think there has been something like 17 announcements of ESB increases over the last couple of years. This will see customers pay 28% more for gas and 24% more for electricity than last year. Similarly, Energia last week announced increases of 15.7% for gas and 18.5% for electricity, on top of 2 increases earlier on this year. The government policy has resulted in fewer Irish jobs, less Irish fuel, higher Irish prices, potential blackouts, and a massive knock-on to inflation in general. The horticultural harvesting of peat in Ireland ceased in September 2019. Yet, over the last couple of weeks, 4,000 tonnes were imported from Latvia at a higher cost, both financially and environmentally. Could you please explain to me how this makes sense? The depleted supply of Irish peat and the ban on harvesting of peat is endangering 17,000 jobs across Ireland. The horticultural industry is at serious risk. They came to the Dáil a couple of months ago now, I suppose, making their case. And I know they got a good hearing on the day, but they didn't get a good hearing from the government. The cost of importing peat, for example, is 3 times the cost of providing our own peat that we had here ourselves. 2 more shipments, believe it or not, of 4,000 tonnes will be required each month if we're going to keep the horticultural industry serviced. And again, this was a decision of your government. It is not good enough, or I don't want anybody to think that I'm landing all this at Eamon Ryan's lap. I am not. Because he did this, and he was ably and suitably abetted by your party and the other parties. I would remind you that last year, in the month of February, the 3rd Saturday in February actually, in Texas, after the network failed, 69 people died in their homes of hypothermia. Can you guarantee me that we won't have a situation where people won't be cold and in danger in their own homes, where there is an over-reliance on electricity, where there is no chimney in the house, and where people need electricity to keep themselves warm, to feed themselves, and to keep themselves safe?
Tánaiste.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks very much, Deputy, for raising this important issue. I've had a chance over the last couple of days to study the presentations that EirGrid and the Commission for the Regulation of Utilities has provided government. And having looked at those presentations, I am confident that we will avoid blackouts and brownouts this winter. But nobody can guarantee it for certain, because there are certain factors that are outside of our control. I think it's important to point out that the peat power stations in the Midlands were not closed as a consequence of a government decision, nor were they closed at the behest of the Green Party. They were closed because of planning and legal issues. And I think if people have that perception that the government decided to close those plants, that is factually incorrect. And I think it's important that everyone here should acknowledge that. The government has been advised both by the utility regulator and EirGrid that they have identified specific challenges to ensuring continued electricity security of supply, which they're currently in the process of addressing. This is very much affected by the fact that there are 2 major gas-fired power stations in Ireland that are out of action, one in Huntstown in my own constituency and another in Cork. And we need to get those back online in October and November. And we're confident that that's going to be the case, but we can't guarantee it absolutely. Also, there has been increased demand, and some of the anticipated new power stations have not been developed as planned. One of the things that as well is that is being considered as part of the plan is the deferral of the expected closure of power stations that make up about 25% of our conventional electricity generation capacity over the coming years. So there were a number of plants that were due to close over the next couple of years. It's likely that those decisions to close will have to be deferred until we have sufficient wind and gas developed to allow us to close those stations. There is a short-term immediate risk to the supply of electricity, and that is being caused by a number of factors, including those 2 power stations that are closed, wind not blowing as much as was anticipated, and also problems with the interconnector between the UK and Ireland. There have been a number of system alerts which indicate an elevated level of risk, including 2 in early September. However, it's important to say that these alerts did not impact on the electricity supply to any customers, and this risk will reduce with the upcoming return to operation of the 2 major gas-fired power stations, and that's due to happen in October and November.